Hello, this video is about how to identify errors in your references and how to go about fixing them. In this video, I will also highlight some of the more common referencing errors that I see, and we'll look at how to use tools on the website Scribbr to help you in fixing your references as well as your citations. Now, there are lots of videos already on YouTube that you can look up about how to format a references page and how to use tools like Scribbr or Citation Machine to produce references, and these are all great. But the emphasis of this one is about what to do when you've already produced a draft or an essay and you want to check your references and tweak them, rather than producing them all from scratch. Now, the reason why I'm making this video isn't just because it's good to have an essay that looks presentable and follows academic style. It's not because I love rules. It's because on the rubrics for the various writing assignments in the English language department, referencing is very important and it will make up about 25% of your grade. It's also the aspect of the rubric that most students struggle with. They might do pretty well with the content or task completion, the organization, the language, but not so well in the referencing. Which is a shame, because the referencing is actually the easiest aspect of the rubric to get a very high grade, to get a B or an A. And it's also the easiest and quickest thing to fix as well. If you've produced a draft and you're trying to think about what you should focus on to improve that draft for the final submission, then you may be able to get a references page, your citations that have given you a D or a C grade, and within 15 or 30 minutes, bump that up to a B or an A or even an A+, which isn't necessarily true for the other things that you're graded on. It's very difficult, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to improve a task completion or a content grade from a C to an A. Organization, it's a little bit less difficult, but again, as far as structuring paragraphs go, which is a part of it, not just the presentational aspects, that takes a lot of work and it's hard. Language as well. You know, if you've got a C for language, taking that to an A is a really big task. However, for referencing, it's not at all. So if we look at an example of a student's grades here, this student here, he's produced a good or acceptable essay. It's a C73. But if we look at the grading, he's done pretty well for the task completion and the language, and he's done very well for his organization. But his referencing is poor. He's got a D. And the instructor comment for this student, whoever he is, says, worst references page ever. And we see that if this student takes 15, 20, 30 minutes to improve his references and citations, he might be able to take this up to a B. And if he does that, all of a sudden he's gone from a C to a C+. If he's able to take it up to an A even, then he's got a B, right? And the amount of work you have to put in to do that shouldn't be too much. So let's start with an example references page. This is something I've made, although it contains a lot of the most common errors that I see when I'm grading student work. Just looking at it, the whole page together, we can immediately see that it doesn't look very tidy for a start. But let's zoom in and have a look more closely at some of the issues here. So looking at the first few references and the title of the page, just take a moment to read through some of these references here and see what you notice, which problems there are. There are lots of different problems here. You might want to pause the video and see what you can find. Then moving down, we'll continue the references page. More references and more errors. Again, you might want to pause the video and read for a moment to see what issues you notice. And all of these errors that you see are pretty common, things that I see in a lot, if not most, student drafts. So let's start to fix this then. So first thing you might have noticed is that the title's wrong, right? According to APA rules, and there are APA rules for absolutely everything, your references page should just be called references, not reference list or references list or bibliography, but references. Small detail, very easy to get right. And then we'll look at this first reference here. So looking at the first reference then, this is a good reference, and it can be quite difficult to spot what the problem is. Well, for this one, the problem is the URL. This is something I see quite often, and it's students who are citing academic journal articles, and they provide a link to a repository website where the article is held, when really what they should be using is the DOI URL. So we know this is not the DOI URL because it says T and F online. Common ones that I see are things like ResearchGate links or Springer links, Science Direct links, rather than the DOI. This one, it's very easy to fix. If we go to this website, which is here, the DOI URL is at the top of the article. It's not always at the top of the page though. Sometimes you might have to scroll to the bottom or look on the right of the page. But for an academic journal article, any recent one, it will have a DOI number or a DOI URL somewhere that you can use, and you can copy and paste that into your reference. For this one, we don't need to do anything fancy. We copy and paste. Now, when you copy and paste text from a website into a document, it can do some strange things to the formatting, like this. It's, for some reason, decided that it should have a bullet point. It's changed the line spacing. It's removed hanging indent. So what you can do here is that you can select this option here. Usually matched destination formatting works, but maybe not 100% of the time. So we'll click on that now, and we can see it's halfway there. It's kept the bullet point for some reason, which we can remove, but it's taken away our hanging indent. But we'll come back and sort that out later when we look at hanging indent. We now have the correct URL. Looking at the next one then. There are a few problems here. One, there's this strangely large space here. The spacing should be consistent between your references, not some of them lumped up together, big spaces of different sizes. That's one problem. Another problem we have here for this reference is that the text size changes. This is something I've seen. This one is size 11. This one's size 12. Again, doesn't look very tidy. And This one here is adhering to APA 6 rules. How can you tell? Well, it's because it has the publisher location for the book. This is no longer required in APA 7. And if I see that there is still a publisher location, usually it means the student has copied and pasted the reference from another essay that is older, before APA 7 rules came in. So that one, we can delete that. That's pretty easy. Moving on to the third reference, what's the problem here? Well, it's a very big problem. One is that the text is bold. That's not such a crime, but the big problem is that it's not in APA style. It's in MLA style, and it's not even correct according to MLA style. But this is something that I sometimes see in essays where a student has probably copied and pasted a reference from a website, maybe even a library, a university library website, or a host for academic journal articles, and it has a reference that's in another referencing style. So remember that APA is one of many different referencing styles. APA stands for the American Psychological Association, and their style is the one that we use, and it's one that is designed in a way to be suitable for writing that is structured around data. And it's different from MLA, it's different from Chicago, it's different from Harvard, and all of the other ones. And this reference is in MLA. So how can we fix that? Well, let's start from scratch. Let's go to Scribbr for help. So what we could do is we could copy the article title, or we could copy this DOI number. It's not a DOI URL, but it's the number part of it. We could copy one of these and use it in Scribbr to produce a correct reference. So if we go into Scribbr here, you'll see on the main page, if you haven't been here before, it gives you different options for what service you want, and you want the APA citation generator. Right, now if we click on this, it takes us to a page where you select the type of reference you have. The main or most common ones are here: website, journal, article, book, report, image, and there are many more. If we click here, there are many things. We've got images, forum posts, conference papers, dissertations, reports, textbooks, and so on. YouTube videos, podcasts, all kinds of things. But we want the journal article. And when you use the search tools here, if you search the article title or the DOI number or the DOI URL, it will most of the time produce something for you. Here, it's provided the article for us. Now, the most common problem here, students click on the button and think that Scribbr is magic and it has just produced a perfect reference when it actually hasn't. It's just a machine, it's just a tool. It doesn't get everything right. So you still have to, every time you use this tool, or every time you copy a reference from somewhere online, or every time you use any other tool like Citation Machine, it's still fundamentally your job to check it. It will help you a lot, but it won't get things right 100% of the time. So the first example we see of a problem is in the title. Okay, now remember that there are different capitalization rules for titles in APA depending on what you're capitalizing, whether it's the publication or the article, what type of source it is, and so on. And it can be difficult to remember all of these rules. Unfortunately, Scribbr is quite helpful with this in two ways. One way is that it has these question mark boxes here. If you click on these, it gives you an explanation of what you need to do here most of the time anyway. For example, it explains that for an article title of this type, an academic journal article, you have to provide a title and subtitle separated by a colon, first letter of every word in the title and the subtitle. So for the first word in the title and the subtitle, not every word. Capitalize proper nouns and so on. So it explains this to you, which is quite useful. And even better, it suggests fixes. Now, not all of these are correct. It will, for example, suggest that you make lowercase some proper nouns. Like if Saudi Arabia was in the title, it might suggest that you make a small s for Saudi and a small a for Arabia. Right, so that can happen. But if you go through this, you're aware of what types of words these are, then you can use this to quickly do it. So model, motivated, vocabulary learning, structural equation, modeling, approach, they're all fine. And it's fixed the title for us. It's already found the page numbers, which isn't always the case, but it's found it here. It's got the journal title. Again, if you're not sure about that, about capitalization, if you click the question mark, it will tell you that a journal name should be in title case, like this one, where all of the words are capitalized, the first letter of all of the words except for the preposition. So that's fine, and it's got the contributors. Okay, it might produce a full name, not just initials. That's fine. It will convert full names into initials as well, but just make sure that it hasn't produced the family name as a first name or a first name as a family name. So you have to check the article for that. This one's good. It has the volume information, it has the year, and it has the DOI number. If we hit cite source, here it is. Wonderful. A perfect reference. Okay, so you can just click to copy. And also you'll notice that when you do that, when you hover your mouse above the article, it gives you this option here, in-text citation. Unsurprisingly, this is providing you with advice about what to do when you cite this in your paper, because of course, if it's in your references list, there should be a citation somewhere in the essay itself, right? And it shows you how to do the two different types of citation. The parenthetical citation, which means everything's in brackets, it's at the end of the sentence. Or how to do a narrative citation, right, which is where you put the author names at the start or middle of a sentence, and then you put the year and page numbers perhaps in brackets, and then you paraphrase what they said. So it gives you those two options. Again, you can click and copy those. It will also automatically tell you whether you need to use et al or not. It will automatically have the right and. So if it's narrative, it needs to be the full word. If it's parenthetical, it should be the ampersand. Right? So it does all of that for you. But this is what we want. We want this reference to add to our references list. So I can get rid of this. And there it is. Okay, some spacing issues here. We'll fix those later, but this is a perfect citation. Looking at the next reference then, what problems do we have here? It's for a book, so it's got all the essential information we need: the publisher, the title of the book, the year, the author. But there are two problems, both very common. One of them is a change in the font. So the above font is Times New Roman, the below font is Calibri. This is something I see a lot, which again, I assume is an issue that happens from when a student is copying and pasting text from a website or another document into their references page. Very easy to fix. Okay, now the other issue is a capitalization one. The capitalization for the book is fine. For the publisher, it's fine. But the author name is not. It's written in all caps. And I see this a lot. I'm not quite sure why. I think that might happen sometimes with citation tools like Scribbr and Citation Machine. They might pull the name from a website if it's written in all capital letters, and the student doesn't check it and change that. But we can do that here. For this one, the initials should, of course, be capitals. It's just the name, the family name Reynolds. So we could type it out again. That's easy enough. Or at the top here, there is a button to change case. And we'll change that to sentence case or capitalize each word. Doesn't really matter, okay, because it's fixed it now. This button is quite helpful for changing things to and from all capital letters, but it's not very useful for title case because it doesn't recognize prepositions, conjunctions, and articles. So if you if you select capitalize each word, it will capitalize words like and of and in, which you don't want. Right? But it is good for going from uppercase to sentence case. The next reference here, it's very similar problems. Again, we've got the name, Liu, is capitalized, like that sentence case, that's good. The book title is appropriately italicized, capitalization's good, publisher's good. But what you might notice here is that the color of the text is slightly different. Believe it or not, this is very common for me to see. It's not usually a radical color change, it's not bright red text, but a lighter shade of gray, perhaps, a dark blue. And you might think, who cares? Well, it is noticeable. It makes your work look scruffy. Because it's so easy to fix, there's no reason not to. So if you don't do it, it just makes you look lazy or sloppy. And according to APA rules, there shouldn't be these changes in text color for the reference. So we'll just change that to black. Now the next reference. What problems can you see here? So the first one you might notice is that there are capitalization problems in both the article title and in the journal title. Right, the article title should be in sentence case and the journal title should be in title case, but it's not because of and the are capitalized. It also has a change in font for the URL, and it's a journal article. It should have a DOI URL. So we could quite easily fix this without going to Scribbr, just changing capital letters, going to this website, finding the DOI URL, changing the font, simple enough. But just to illustrate how to use Scribbr again for checking references, we'll do it the long way. So we'd copy this URL here and go to the website. It's this one here. So again, this one's got the DOI URL at the top of the page. It's not always there, sometimes at the bottom, but it's there, nice and easy. And you'll notice that as with the other journal article, right, that the title here as it's written here, is in title case because it's not bound by the rules of APA. APA only applies to academic papers, essays that you're writing that use APA rules. They don't necessarily apply to how websites are formatted, for example. So that's why there's a difference there. So we'll take this DOI URL and we'll take it to Scribbr. Once again, journal article, search for the DOI, see what happens. Here it is. And surprise, surprise, there is a capitalization problem, or capitalization problems again. So we know journal articles should be in sentence case. So we will go with this. Checking these words. Are they proper nouns? No. 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 For a title. Now looks perfect. Page numbers are automatically there. The journal title here, we can see that it is in title case. Of and the are not capitalized for the first letter. That's good. Contributor, yes, EJ. Haas, Stapleton wouldn't be a first name. It's not, so you don't have to worry. Again here, Barreto, name's good. Okay, great. Volume numbers there, issue numbers there, publication dates there, DOI number is there too. Great. So let's cite this source, and we have it here. Now you'll see because this has multiple authors, you might be wondering, oh, do I need to use et al here, or do I need to use et al the first time, or all of this stuff that you might have seen in materials over the years. These questions can be answered if you click on this in-text citation button. It will tell you, yes, you need to use et al. Okay, those rules about how many authors and first time, second time, they've been made simpler, thankfully, by the merciful people in the American Psychological Association. So it's quite consistent now. This has several authors. This is what the citation should look like. We could copy that if we needed to fix a citation in our essay. But I want this. I want this reference. So again, I'll put that in my essay. Great. That is looking much better. Now let's have a look at the next reference, this Kelly K one. There are a few issues here. The one you might notice most immediately is this font change. Again, that looks very untidy. Right, if part of it is in one font, part of it is another font. Right, APA actually, at least it used to state that you could only use Times New Roman. I'm not sure if that's a hard rule anymore. Check with your instructor. He might not have a preference, but the fonts should at least all be the same on your references page. That's one problem. Another problem. Okay, we have a capitalization problem for the publication here, for this online magazine article. And we have something strange. We have a letter here, 2017B. So why does this happen? Well, there is a system for this. If you have more than one reference from the same author or same authors in an essay that were produced in the same year, then one of them takes an A, one of them takes a B, third one takes a C, and so on. But that's a very rare thing to happen, and it's not what should happen here. And I know why this mistake exists. Okay, so we'll look at these things separately. Right. Oh, and one more thing. This student has included this retrieved from here before the URL. Now for APA 6, this was necessary And if it was from an online article, it should have a date of retrieval as well. But this is an APA 6 thing. So again, I imagine that the student who did this copied this reference from another essay or somewhere online, from an essay that was using APA 6 rules because it was written a few years ago. So that can happen. So several problems here. We'll go to Scribbr to fix this. And copy the URL. It shows us this article here. And you'll notice something interesting as well, that the title of the article is formatted a bit differently from it is in the reference. The reference just says the myth of the superhuman AI, but this one is the AI cargo cult, the myth of the superhuman AI. So I wonder if that will create problems. Anyway, let's try this. So if we go to other, because it is a website, but it's not just a website, it's a magazine. The magazine is Wired magazine, but it's the online version. So we have to be careful there. We'll search for this. And it's found it for us. And again, it's not got the right title, but that's the right article. So we'll take this for now. So let's see the article title. It's suggesting that we change the capitalization, which indicates to us that yes, it needs to be in sentence case. Again, those little question mark buttons are very helpful sometimes. Okay, so we'll change that. And we also need to add the main title, the AI cargo cult, which Scribbr hasn't found because this here is an image. There's no text to copy. You can only copy it from here. So we need to add that ourselves manually. The AI should be capitalized because it's an initialism. Cargo cult should not be. Colon, space. And again, the T in the should be capitalized because it's after a colon. That looks good. Name of the magazine, it's Wired magazine. K. Kelly, let's just check that is the name of the author. Yes, Kevin Kelly. Not Kelly Kevin. Can get the names wrong there. Publication date, that looks correct. We'll just double check. The 25th of March 2017. 25th of March 2017. URL, great. So let's cite this source. Okay. So this is how it should look. And you'll notice that there's no B here. And I'll show you why this B happens. This B happens if I were to create another reference. Let's just say call it a website to make it easy. For the same article, this will be wrong, but it doesn't matter. You'll see now that because there are two articles that I've done, it's given one an A and one a B because it's the same author in the same year. When that has happened because I have made a new reference entry, not because they are separate articles. So do be careful, right? If you are using Scribbr again to write a new reference for an article that you've already produced a reference for, this error can happen. So there are ways around this. One is to delete references that are multiples, like this one, and it will fix the original one. And if you are wanting to edit your references, rather than create a new reference, you can just go in and edit the one that you have on your Scribbr page if you want, to avoid this duplication. This is the reference I want. Go back to my essay and paste. There it is. Looking better. Okay, now to the last one. what issues can you see here? So it's an academic journal article. You can see that. And there are a few problems. One is that the text color has changed, which again looks very untidy, and it's not how it should be according to APA rules. There is a capitalization issue, which you might see if you're looking very closely. But after the colon here, there should be a capital letter. There is an italics issue in that the journal article and this number here should be in italics. And the URL is incorrect. It's a Springer link. It's not a DOI URL. And one more. It's not in hanging indent. It's actually not the only one here that's not in hanging indent. I forgot to mention this one here, the first one. Not the first one. The first one as well has been changed. This one here from Reynolds is not. And this one's not. This one is in something even stranger. It's indented in a standard way. Okay, and this is something I sometimes see in references pages too. So how can we fix all of these things? Well, I'll show you about the hanging indent soon. But let's go about fixing this with Scribbr first. Again, we can copy the link, go to the website, which is this one here, and we can take it through Scribbr. Now, Scribbr will find the DOI URL for this, I think. But you'll notice that it's not at the top of the page like the other articles. It's actually at the bottom here. So you have to look for it sometimes. You'll also notice it says cite this article. You might think, oh, what a relief. I can just copy and paste this citation, this reference rather, right? But you can't because this is not an APA style. So this is a way that students can make mistakes, is just copying and pasting things from websites without checking them first. So this won't work for us. So let's take this DOI URL. Let's go to Scribbr, journal article, search for the article. Here it is. And again, there are capitalization problems here. Right, it should be in sentence case. None of these are proper nouns, so we don't have to worry. That's fixed. Page numbers are there. Journal is there. Let's check, is it in title case? Yes, it is. The authors' names are correct. Right, Todd is the last name. Vettin is the last name. The volume number, the issue number, the year, DOI, it's all there. Wonderful. Cite source. And here we go. Again, we can check the citation if we need it. But I just want this. Copy. And go to my essay. And paste that in there. Great. Okay, so we now have a collection of perfect references, but the page itself is still not perfect. So let's go about fixing a few things. I'm just reminded of something here. You may have noticed that I'm turning these links into blue hyperlinks. Believe it or not, there are actually rules about this in the APA manual. You have two options. One is that you can provide hyperlinks, the blue ones that when you click on them, it takes you to the website. And those can be underlined, or you can have the text be black with no underline. Those are your two options, apparently. I would not worry about this too much. I don't think instructors here are likely to to penalize you for that. But for consistency's sake, I've put all of these in this style rather than a mix. Rather than have one that's not like that and the rest that are, it just looks neater if they're all the same. Alternatively, I could have all of these links black and not underlined, as long as they're consistent. Okay, so this is looking much better now, but it's not correct yet. There's strange spacing differences. At least the fonts are the same now, I think. Are they all the same size though? I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go about fixing things more broadly. So let's just double check that these are all the same font, which I think they are. But there we go, they definitely are now. Are they all the same size? No. Right, the William Gibson novel Neuromancer is not, at least. Okay, so we need to make them all the same size. Size 12. Now, again, APA, at least it used to have strict rules about even font sizes. It had to be size 12. I don't know if that's true now, and I don't know if it matters for you and with your instructor. If that's me, I don't really mind if it's 11 or 12, whatever, as long as it's consistent. But we'll go by the classic rules here. Size 12 font, Times New Roman. Okay, spacing issues. You'll notice that we have these big spaces between our references, which looks very untidy. But we also have different spacing between the lines as well. So we need to tidy that up. So let's get rid of these big spaces between. Don't want those. Okay, and now we need to fix the line spacing. It's easy enough. You highlight the text, and we will choose APA rules 2.0 line spacing. Again, it doesn't really matter. I don't think most instructors will mind. I don't, as long as it's the same line spacing everywhere. 2.0 is quite useful actually if for people grading it. You want to keep your instructor, if that's me, happy, because we have to grade on Turnitin. We see a smaller version of your essay, and so having bigger text with bigger spacing makes it easier for us to read and easier for us to add feedback. But anyway, I'd recommend 1.5 or 2.0, not 1.15 or 1.0. That is too tight. Okay, so it's looking good. I've got a few more things to fix. So we notice that the indentation is a bit strange. It's different for different articles. How do you fix that? Well, the easiest way is to highlight your references. And then you need to access the paragraph settings. These are in several different places on Microsoft Word. The quickest and easiest one is to just right-click and choose paragraph. There is a keyboard shortcut as well, and there is somewhere on the top ribbon, but the right-click paragraph is the quickest for me. Okay, and we want to go to the indentation settings here, which are in the middle. And what we want is a special type of indentation called hanging indent. Okay, and if the automatic settings here are good, this would normally be set to 0, but it's not for some reason. So I'm just going to make sure those two things, the left and right settings, are the same. But we want hanging indent and OK. And there we go, it's fixed it for us. They're all in hanging indent. Once more, that is right-click, paragraph, indentation, special, and hanging. And just leave it to the default. Don't change this. This is, again, according to an APA rule, the exact size it should be. As I've said, APA has rules for everything. And there it is. Okay, this is looking pretty good now. This is a good references page. This is definitely a higher grade. Still a problem though. And what is that problem? Well, Alsaif, Gibson, Tseng, Reynolds, Liu, Haas, Stapleton, Kelly. This isn't the alphabet I know. These are not in alphabetical order. So you could move them around manually. It wouldn't take too long. But there is a quicker way. If you highlight the text and you've used hanging indent, you can select an option from the top ribbon here, where the font options are. Sorry, not where the font options are, where the spacing and alignment options are. This one with an A and a Z, which is unsurprisingly how you sort the text. So if we click on that, the default setting is what you want, where you sort paragraphs, text type text, ascending. There are other options, but most of the time it will be set to this one, which is what you want. Sort by paragraphs, type text, ascending, which just means it puts them in alphabetical order, like that, which is great. We have to be careful though. This only works if you're using the hanging indent settings. If you prefer to manually indent your references, for example, this one here, if I were to hit enter and hit the tab key like this so it looks correct, that's fine, I guess, but it can create different problems. Not just the one I'm about to show you, but there are different problems this would create, so I would avoid that. But you'll see that if I've done it the manual way, where this is a new line, and I've hit the tab key, and then I try to sort these quickly, alphabetically, using this A to Z button here, it doesn't work. It's put this Giroux, which is a name, but it's the name of the publisher, not the author. It's put it up here with this Gibson one. It separated it from here. So we don't want to do that. We want the good old-fashioned hanging indent. So looking at this references page now, if I do say so myself, it's rather good. It's possible that I've missed a mistake somewhere. I'm just double checking. I don't think I have. So I would say that a references page like this, if I were to submit it like this for my final essay, my instructor would be very impressed. And he might give me an A+, like that, which would take me to an 81 for my final grade. And now I can focus on trying to improve these other elements of my essay. But just doing that one thing, which might take 15 minutes, it might take half an hour, but that one thing has taken me up multiple grades from where I was with a D, to where I am now with an A+. Now, an important thing to note here is that simply making sure that your references are correctly formatted and your citations are correctly formatted, that's great, and that will give you a good referencing grade, but you still have to make sure that you are meeting the source requirements for your essay. So if you have requirements that you should have minimum of 6 sources or maximum of 9 sources, and that 2 of them should be from academic journal articles, or 1 of them should be from a book, whatever it is, right? Or that you're not allowed to have any low quality sources like articles from, I don't know, the Daily Mail or links to TikTok videos, right? As long as there are no poor sources and you've met the source requirements for number and type, then you could get an A+. If you haven't met the source requirements, either in number or type or quality, then even if they're referenced perfectly, even if your citations are perfect, you're not going to get the very highest grades. But you could still get a good grade for the referencing potentially if you haven't quite met all of the requirements. So I know this was a long video. I know it certainly wasn't an interesting one for you to watch either, but I do hope it was useful in some way. I won't have covered every possible issue that you might encounter, but I've covered the main ones that I encounter when I'm reading student drafts. And I'll emphasize this once more. Fixing the referencing. It's not difficult. It doesn't take a long time, and it can make a big difference to your grade. So I wish you luck, and I expect to see 100% perfect references pages from every student going forward.